What are you waiting for?
I gave you an order. Kill this
Hello and welcome to SquaredEyesT.V. Today we'll cover the newest masterpiece in sci-fi, Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire. From the same brilliant mind that brought us cinematic gems like 300, The Watchmen, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, and The Army of the Dead, director Zack Snyder has yet again created a legend. With a compelling story, vivid action scenes, remarkable performances, a grand cast, and stellar visual effects, Rebel Moon is definitely this year's memorable experience. If you liked the video, remember to hit like and subscribe. The story is set in a dystopian universe where, on the Mother World, 1,000 kings have ruled in succession. In its lust for power, they consumed everything on their planet. The realm marched its armies into the vastness of space, destroying and conquering everything in its path. The glory of the Mother World continued until the betrayal by an assassin's blade struck down the royal family, severing the royal bloodline forever. In the chaos that followed its aftermath, several conquered planets took up arms and formed a revolution. Senator Balisarius seized the opportunity to claim control and declared himself the Imperium's regent. To affirm its strength, Balisarius sent his most brutal commander, Admiral Atticus Noble, into the far reaches of the Empire to find and ruthlessly crush the rebel army. Fun fact, did you know that director Zack Snyder pitched this as a Star Wars movie in 2012 when Disney acquired Lucasfilms? This explains why it feels like a Star Wars movie, with the movie references here and there. On the backwater moon of Velt, a village celebrates its bountiful harvest year. Cora, a former Imperium soldier, takes refuge in the town, hiding her identity from the others. She's often paired with the village's strongest hunter, Den, but she dismisses him and instead shows interest in Gunnar, a farmer secretly in love with her. It's hilarious when the village leader claims that the thrusting of hips and the loud sounds of pleasure summon the seeds to sprout.
Pleasure that summon the seedlings to sprout.
Their celebration is cut short when the Imperium army, led by Admiral Atticus, shows up. Cora advises them not to fight back and give them whatever they want, hoping they leave without causing a stir. Another fun fact, Velt in Afrikaans means field of lands, which is synonymous, provided that it's a fertile and rich planet. The village leader, Sindri, goes out to greet their guests. Atticus explains how his army has engaged in a war of conquest with the rebels, led by Devra Bloodaxe and her brother Darian. He claims that they're now low on supplies and demands that Sindri and his village provide for them in exchange for paying exorbitant prices. Sindri politely declines his offer, explaining how they barely have enough food for the village to last them through the winter. When pushed for answers, Gunnar blurts out how they might have some to spare for them as they've stored food reserves for cases of famine or drought. Now Atticus is outraged at Sindri for misleading him and kills him and his wife as an example to force everyone else to submit. He then demands that Gunnar deliver on his promise and will return in 10 weeks to collect, leaving a squadron to keep them in check. Another fun fact, it doesn't come as a shock that Atticus and the realm are space Nazis working for an evil empire when wearing that dastardly fascist outfit. Even how they coined the word Mother World is similar to how Germans called their country the motherland back in the war. While the soldiers settle in at their new camp, they activate Jimmy, one of the robotic knights loyal to the slain king, to move things around. Marcus, a cruel Imperium soldier, sees it and starts shooting at the defenseless robot that refuses to fight back against its employers. Later that night, Cora packs up after realizing everyone in the village is willing to submit for a chance at life. Hagen, the villager who found her in a wreckage, urged her to stay and fight. Cora explains how mounting a defense against the villagers will just have them all killed, and she refuses to have their blood on her hands. On the way out, she overhears Sam, a village girl, screaming while being carted away by some soldiers about to assault her. She steps in and skillfully kills them all with the help of Jimmy, who has defected from the soldiers after becoming independent. This is where Chappie turns into the Terminator. Or so we hoped. How about another fun fact? Did you know that director Zack Snyder is fond of using slow-motion action scenes as an artistic tool, which is also used numerous times in this movie? This was seen in other movies he directed, like 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch, and even the highly acclaimed Justice League movie. Having killed off the entire squad, Cora explains how Atticus and his men will return to massacre them. She claims that they'll have to fight back against their oppressors. She proposes to go and search for men to fight for them, starting with the infamous General Titus, once a hero of the realm who turned his own forces against the Mother World. She brings Gunnar along to help track him down, using his connection with the rebels when he once inconspicuously sold grain to the resistance. At night, Cora reveals her story to him, how she became the lone survivor of her planet when the Imperium razed it down. They came at night and attacked the village. They tried to fend them off, but it only made it worse, provoking the young general to take it out on the innocent. Cora's younger self came face to face with the monster Balisarius, who led his army onto the battlefield itself. Still unaware of why he spared her then, Balisarius took her in as his daughter and gave her the name Arthelius. She was later trained as a soldier, fighting for the Imperium and conquering planets, much like how Thanos took in Gamora and Nebula from the planets he conquered and raised them as daddy's little girls to become world-class assassins. Now she continued telling him her story. After making a name for herself on the battlefield and garnering numerous achievements, she was later promoted to the elite guard of the royal family and became the bodyguard of Princess Issa. The princess was said to be named after the ancient queen who earned the nickname the Life Giver because of her powers. Because of her powers, she was expected to usher in an end to the endless conquest, but was brutally killed during her coronation, for which Cora blames herself for being unable to protect her. Although Princess Issa's powers seemed remarkable, we only saw her revive a dead bird. It makes you wonder what a resurrected human might look like. If the revived turned out to be zombies, does this make this movie a prequel to Army of the Dead? Makes you think. Well, Cora and Gunnar arrive at the port town of Providence to recruit fighters while searching for the esteemed General Titus. During their search for Gunnar's contact, they run into Hawkshaws, bounty hunters who work for the Imperium. Gunnar later realizes that the bounty hunters captured his contact, so Cora suggests that they go into the bar to search for leads. They're suddenly interrupted by an alien pig, interested in buying Gunnar as a servant. When she dismisses him, he pulls out a knife and insists, but Cora quickly pinned him down to the table and sent him running away. Well, Cora gets wind of information on Titus, who was last seen fighting in the Colosseum at Pollux. Here's another fun fact. It was a nice homage to see a cantina scene in Rebel Moon as a subtle reference to a post-Star Wars space opera where you can see a humanoid robot serving drinks at a bar to a mix of oddly weird creatures. And yet another fun fact. Snyder confirmed that Rebel Moon is indeed connected to the same universe as his other zombie film, Army of the Dead. There's even a cameo of a character from the supposed Army of the Dead animated series, which never pushed through, but others believed it to be the alien creature who had a zombie-like human. Well, as they were about to head out, the alien pig returned with mercenaries and quickly escalated into a bar fight. Cora skillfully guns them down, and the illegal smuggler Kai helps them. He agrees to help them get to Pollux, but suggests that they stop by to recruit reliable fighters along the way. They later arrive at the frontier homestead Neo-Wadi to recruit Tarek Decimus, who is later revealed to be the Prince of Samandrai with the uncanny ability to tame beasts. Tarek is working to pay off his debt to the rancher Hickman after incurring huge losses. Cora tries to pay off his debt, but they don't have enough money, so Hickman proposes a bet. If Tarek can tame a wild Bennu, which appears to be like the mythical creature Griffin, then his debt will be swiped clean. If not, then Cora and Gunnar will be working for him. Seeing Tarek's vote of confidence, Cora agrees to the bet. Tarek tells Hickman's men to let go of the chains holding the Bennu down, while he slowly approaches it. When he finally calms it down, he rides its back to wear it down. The Bennu violently tries to throw him off his back, and successfully does so, but Tarek brazenly takes a leap of faith and lands right back on the Bennu. Then the Bennu shows its respect to Tarek, and even playfully asks him to pet him again. With this, Tarek earned his freedom and entrusted the Bennu to Hickman. Hickman arrogantly rides it, but is quickly thrown off his back and killed for agitating it. The predator becomes prey and becomes bird food. Fun fact, did you know that director Zack Snyder fondly used regulars in his previous movies? Ray Fisher as Cyborg in the Justice League movie takes on the role of Darian Bloodaxe, Jenna Malone as Rocket in Sucker Punch, and Janet Clyburn in the Batman vs. Superman movie takes on the role of Harmata, and Ray Porter as Darkseid in the Justice League movie plays the role of Hickman in Rebel Moon. Having recruited Tarek, Cora and the others head towards the Cobalt mining planet in search of the legendary swordswoman Nemesis. Kai explains how they're recruiting mercenaries to fight the Mother World, who has set their sights on Veld. Before she could answer him, they entered a chamber where the ominous spider lady Harmata made its home. It turns out that Harmata has taken a child hostage. She explains how this is in revenge against the humans who had polluted the air, poisoning her body and weakening her eggs. Being unable to hatch, she claims that she'll continue to kill children until humans regret having come to the mines. Nemesis tries to reason with her, but when she refuses to listen, she's forced to use violence. She tried to cut the monster down but struggled, worried that she would endanger the child it was carrying. When Armada drops the child, Gunnar saves the girl while Nemesis skillfully cuts her down. And now, another fun fact. Did you know that director Zack Snyder is famous for badass women action scenes like Faora in Man of Steel, Mickey's entourage chambers in Army of the Dead, Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman, and the entire cast in Sucker Punch? In Rebel Moon, you have the badass Korra and Nemesis, whose fight scene with the Spider-Woman Armada was remarkably spectacular. And another fun fact, there are plenty of Star Wars references here, like the Imperium soldiers looking like stormtroopers, Nemesis's lightsaber-like weapons, and how Jimmy closely resembles the droids in Star Wars. Well, Korra and the others arrive at the gladiator arena of Castor in Pollux and find a dirty drunkard they believe to be General Titus. After a quick cleaning and sobering him up, Korra tries to convince him to fight for their cause. Titus initially refuses, but eventually agrees when Korra claims he will have the opportunity to avenge his dead men when they battle the Mother World. Although she initially hoped she could have Titus's men with them, convincing the talented tactician General Titus to fight with them was still a win. And wow, the level of dirt on Titus is shocking. How it won't quickly come off even after some rigid brushing and washing. How about another fun fact? Jaimin Hunsu, playing General Titus in the film, reprises his role as a fearless gladiator who made a name for himself when he played Juba in the 2000 film The Gladiator. They later obtain information that the Blood Axe siblings are taking refuge in Sharan under the protection of King Levitica. Using Gunnar's connection with the Blood Axes, Korra was able to set a meeting with them. She tried to convince them to fight with them against the Mother World and the deadly Dreadnought, the King's Gaze, led by Admiral Atticus. The Blood Axes refused, worried that they didn't stand a chance against what they would call a world destroyer. Korra passionately explains how despite being simple farmers, Gunnar and his village toiled with bare hands to grow the grain that fed the rebellion. Korra's speech moved Darien, and he agreed to help them, bringing a handful of volunteers with him, including Milius, his most trusted fighter. His sister Devra tries to convince him otherwise, but he's already decided, intent on staying true to their cause of liberating people against their oppressors. Darien bids his sister farewell and urges her to leave the planet. As soon as they leave, Atticus and his men arrive and torture Levitica into submission, and then later kills him and indiscriminately razes the planet till nothing is left. Yet again, the King's Gaze is another abominable creation like Darth Vader's Death Star. Now before they return to Veld, Kai convinces Korra to drop by the trade depot Gondoval. He claims to be willing to abandon his lawless life as a smuggler to fight for her cause, but not before making one last drop-off so he can leave his old life behind him. The team later walks in on an ambush prepared by Kai, who works with the Hawkshaws. Kai explains that when he first heard Korra rounding up fighters to defend Veld against the Mother World, he thought it would be an excellent opportunity to capture infamous fighters. Atticus and his men walk in on Korra and the others, but only after revealing Korra's nickname, Scargiver. Before they take them in to be publicly executed, Kai orders Gunnar to paralyze Korra, but instead uses his quick thinking to free her and kills him instead. It quickly becomes a battlefield, and the others break free from their shackles. Darien orders his men to get on their ships, but is gunned down by the enemy's vessel. Furious, Darien recklessly charges at it and kills the pilot, but takes a bullet to the heart and dies in the ensuing battle. Geez, why would this Jason Momoa lookalike jump at the cockpit when he could have just shot the pilot at point-blank range? Fun fact, did you know that Zack Snyder movies are fond of killing off their heroes, like the Spartans in 300? Jimmy Olsen died in the opening of Batman vs. Superman, while Superman himself gets killed in the end. Likewise, we see Darien and Kai already dead in Part 1. As the ship goes down, it cuts off the platform where Atticus is, but not before Korra manages to cross over, isolating them from the others. The final showdown between Korra and Atticus is underway, and the two duke it out in a brawl. Although physically weaker than Atticus, Korra skillfully defeats and kills him, but not before she whacks the brains out of him with his cane. It's gratuitously satisfying to see Atticus spew some teeth in that final blow. Well, with the battle over, Titus makes a grand speech about how their actions truly made a difference. Despite their small act of defiance, their actions give voice to the voiceless and hope for the defenseless. Korra gives credit to Gunnar, whose quick thinking led them to victory. As Jimmy watches them from a distance, Korra and the others return to the village together to claim their reward. It's fun fact time again. Rebel Moon is greatly influenced by Akira Kurosawa's best film, The Seven Samurai. It's a 1954 film about how a group of samurai band together at the behest of a small village for protection against the Empire. Later, the Imperium recovered Noble's lifeless body and placed it into a device, hooking him up to several tubes. The device then encased him in a bubble of water, where he's suddenly sent to the astral plane with a current regent, Balisarius. Atticus reports that he's finally found his daughter, but Balisarius grows furious after failing to capture her and end the insurgency. He urged Atticus to bring his daughter back to him alive, so he can execute her himself. Should he fail, he will have Atticus executed before the Senate to be made an example out of him. He then sends him back, resurrected and very much alive, screaming at the top of his lungs.
Did he make it back?
I don't know.
You know, it's really annoying when the villain doesn't stay dead. In case you missed it, the scene is a nice homage to the 1999 movie The Matrix, where Neo emerges from a gel-filled cocoon, naked and connected to tubes. One last fun fact for you. Did you know that director Zack Snyder is actually working on a director's cut version of Rebel Moon? A much longer, denser, and more brutal version of the movie. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to hit like and subscribe. Make sure to tap that bell to be notified about our latest videos as well. And with that, we'll see you next time.